What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I'm Asif Badi. This is a clip from the YouTube show, so please do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, and give me your thoughts in the comments section below. Without further ado, on with the show. Which now leads me to more concerns on the defense, and I'm talking about the edge room, okay? So guys like, Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari and Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt, right? I think, again, this is going to be a look at what Vic Fangio believes about these guys in the edge room. And it'll kind of wrap up or bring on a bigger conversation about personnel for the defensive side of the ball. So again, without further ado, I'm going to find the Vic Fangio comments in regards to the edge room, and we're just going to take a listen and see what he believes is going to be the status of, I should say, of this defensive end room, okay? So without further ado, as I stumble through getting this all together, here's Vic Fangio in regards to the edge room.
To when he needs to by bending his knees.
What's your evaluation of the edge rush depth so far with guys like Josh Uche Azeez Ojulari? How do you feel about the entire edge rush group in terms of depth?
So the reporter, again, a little tough to hear sometimes. The reporter basically asked him, what is your evaluation or what's the status you believe of Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari in the edge room? Okay? Keep in mind, that's who he was asking about, okay?
Yeah, I feel good about Nolan, and Jalix is making good strides. After that, we got some heavy competition going on. And, nobody's really truly surfaced yet, good or bad. Hopefully over the course of this camp and preseason games, that will play itself out.
Okay. So, that was pretty funny. I don't know if you guys necessarily found humor in that. The man asked, what do you think about Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche? And Vic Fangio goes, yeah, I like Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith. I mean, listen, isn't that just exactly what you don't want to hear if you're an Eagle fan? He's basically telling you, hey, the only edge guys that we have that I think are good are Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith. Other than that, we have a bunch of guys. Now, again, I think that's what we all anticipated going into this offseason and felt that, hey, those are the two guys that are going to pick up the starter snaps, and we kind of sprinkle in all the other guys here. It's just funny because we brought in Ojulari and Josh Uche to be able to help offset some of the snaps. And from what it seems like, Vic Fangio is not really interested in that because he's saying no one really stand out in regards to the edge room here. No one has really stepped up outside of Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt. And again, I don't know if this is a cause for concern in terms of we don't have a starting defensive end or a starting edge because Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt are anticipated to be penciled in as starters. However, I think it brings on a bigger discussion in regards to what this defense is going to look like now. Because now you don't have as much depth at edge anymore because you lost Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, and everybody else down the line. Because remember, we had Brandon Graham, we had Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt as depth. Now all of a sudden, we lost Sweat, we lost Milton, we lost BG, and now you got to rely on the young bucks like Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith to be able to pick up the slack. And I don't know about you, Nolan Smith, I don't believe is going to be able to hold up for 16, 17 games in a regular season because we've seen him in limited snaps already have problems staying healthy. And he's a smaller guy. Now, he's an excellent player. It's not a matter of whether or not Nolan Smith can play. It's a matter of whether or not he could stay on the field. And we believe in Jalix Hunt's ability and his versatility, and I believe that's what Vic Fangio loves most about him. However, is he going to be able to take on 500, 600, 700 snaps during the year? That's a question mark. And with Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari being into the fray here, it's not like they're playing excellent ball like Vic Fangio said. So what gives in the edge room? To me, I think what they're going to end up doing is a couple things. I think they're going to give Jihad Campbell a lot of reps playing like outside linebacker, playing closer to the edge, and have Zach Bond move around a lot. And with Small London and Jeremiah Trotter and eventually Nakobe Dean coming back on the back end of the season, we have a lot of depth at linebacker all of a sudden. And I think because of that, what's going to probably end up happening is a guy like I said, Jihad Campbell and Zach Bond, they may move them around and play closer to the edge when you have to give a spell to Jalex Hunt and Nolan Smith. And then you put Jeremiah Trotter, Nakobe Dean, London out there as your Mike linebackers. And then all of a sudden you have a little bit of a different look because remember, last year, Zach Bond was initially brought in as an outside linebacker and they moved him inside. So he has the skill set to play out there. And Jihad Campbell, the reason Philadelphia Eagle fans love him was not only because he's an excellent football player, but because of his versatility. You could put him on the edge. You could play him inside. You could have him drop back because he has the athletic ability to do so. And he has the ability to bull rush and get after the quarterback too. So those are the three things that you need to be able to do in a Vic Fangio scheme, particularly on the edges, particularly outside linebacker. So again, the only edges right now that he trusts are Nolan Smith and Jalex Hunt. Outside of that, nobody has stepped up to the fray. So could this lead to change in personnel? Possibly. And because of this change in personnel, like I said, we talked about it before. If you change something on the back end, if quarterback 2 is not solidified, it changes your whole back end. If you can't figure out what the edge room looks like with, Josh Uche, Azeez Ojulari, and all those guys, all of a sudden it changes what you have to do as a base package. So you're playing a lot. You're putting a lot of trust and a lot on Vic Fangio's plate, albeit deserved, to really figure out whether or not this defense is going to be chicken shit or chicken soup. Excuse my mouth. It's not the same personnel as last season because last year's roster was excellent top to bottom. You don't have that same depth this offseason. This roster, it's a completely different ball game. And while last year was more, hey, we line up in our packages and you have to find a way to get past our defense, this defense is going to be a lot more smokes and mirrors, I think, in my opinion. I think you're going to see a lot more personnel packages. I think you're going to see a lot more guys moving around, really trying to piece things together during the regular season. And it may not translate to us being ranked very highly during the regular season on defense. We're not going to go from number 1 to number 17, in my opinion, but I also don't think we're going to be a top 5 unit per se. We're playing a lot of really good quarterbacks, a lot of really good football teams. We are the Super Bowl champions, so the schedule is projected to be harder. I think what's going to end up happening is that we're going to really be figuring out packages during the first half of the year, and on the back end of the year, when we have a lot more of a sample size of who can play where and whatnot, you start honing in and you start playing complementary football. And then that's when you figure out, hey, we might have been 20th the first 8 weeks, but the last 8 weeks of the season, 9 weeks of the season, we started playing like a top 7, top 5, top, unit on defense. And then you may end up finishing in the top 10 or 12, but you're going into the playoffs playing like a top 10, top 5 type defense. And that's a scary proposition for anybody playing in the NFC, because I don't think there's really anybody in the NFC right now that makes us shake in our boots. The Rams are a good football team. They may have something to say. I think the Niners are going to have an easy schedule, so they are going to be rolling. You also have the Bucks, who I think are really, really good and finished their season on the back end on like really just They may win like 7 or 8 straight games on the back end of their season. They may even host a playoff game. Who knows? But point being is personnel is going to be a problem on the defensive side of the ball, and we're really trusting Vic Fangio to figure out whether or not we have anything to work with here. And it doesn't seem necessarily like we thought in the past that Vic Fangio and Howie Roseman are working together in terms of constructing the defense. It seems to be Howie just puts guys there and lets Vic Fangio kind of figure out whether or not they're going to be able to play. We've seen it with Adoree Jackson. You see it with Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche, as they're just guys apparently, right? And we don't know what's Andrew McCool is going to look like. We don't know what Sidney Brown's going to look like. We don't know McCullum. We don't know what Keely Ringo's going to look like. And we don't have the veteran leadership back there on the back end anymore and some of the guys on defense. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this defense shapes up going into the new season.
Hey, thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles Podcast.